The Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues are meeting in the first round of the playoffs this year, and it's a series that could end up being one of the best of the entire postseason. I cannot wait for the puck to drop, and I think this one has a real shot to go all seven. So let's get a preview of the Wild versus Blues. Hey everybody, so my next series preview for the playoffs this year is the 2-seed Minnesota Wild against the 3-seed St. Louis Blues in the Central Division, and I am so excited for this series. This is probably my favorite out of all the Western Conference matchups. Not probably, it is. This is my favorite matchup out west. And I cannot wait for this series to get started. These teams are so evenly matched, so good, and they're gonna, I think, play just awesome hockey games against each other. Both teams score a lot of goals, and that usually leads to exciting hockey. You add in the division rivalry on top of that. You add in the intensity of the playoffs, and this has all the makings to be a first-round classic. So let's take a look at both teams here, look at how they match up. Minnesota versus St. Louis. The Minnesota Wild went 53-22-7 this year, 113 points, finished second in the Central Division standings. However, they did not win a game against the Blues in the regular season. They went 0-1-2 versus St. Louis in the regular season. Obviously, two of those games were overtime games, very, very close, but St. Louis was able to come out with the win. Now, the caveat to that is that the Minnesota Wild now have Marc-Andre Fleury, and Fleury did not play in any of those three games against St. Louis. It was all Cam Talbot. Fleury could be an X factor in this series. Obviously, a superstar goalie that they added at the trade deadline. If he plays and starts this series for Minnesota, that could be a big-time difference maker for them against their division rival. The Minnesota Wild were one of the best offensive teams in the NHL this year, scoring 3.72 goals for per game, which was fifth best in the NHL. And their high-flying offense was really what carried them this season. If you look statistically, nothing else really jumps out. They were middle of the road as far as goals against go, giving up 3.04 goals against per game. And they weren't particularly good on special teams. Minnesota operated at just 20.5% on the power play, which is 18th best in the NHL, very middle of the road there. And their penalty kill is not very good, 76.1% on the PK. The Minnesota Wild need this series to be played at even strength. If this gets into a special teams battle, they are not going to beat the Blues in a special teams battle. They need this to be 5-on-5, 4-on-4 at minimum. If you're going to take a penalty, take somebody else with you with the box. But overall, I think the best course of action here for Minnesota is to stay disciplined and keep this series 5-on-5. That is going to give them the best chance to win. They got to hope that the refs kind of put the whistles away, because if this gets into a battle of power plays and penalty kills, the Wild special teams probably isn't going to win that battle. 25th on the PK, 18th on the power play across the league. So on the St. Louis Blues side, we've got a team that went 49-22-11 this year, 109 points, and finished third in the Central Division. They went 3-0-0 against Minnesota in the regular season. As we said, two of those games were in overtime, and St. Louis was able to win both of those overtime games. So the season series certainly favors the Blues. They've certainly shown that they can beat the Wild. And St. Louis is also one of the best offensive teams in the NHL this year, scoring 3.77 goals for per game, which was third best in the NHL, even higher than Minnesota. They're also better defensively than Minnesota, giving up just 2.91 goals against per game, which was 11th best in the NHL. So they definitely have an advantage defensively. They have a slight advantage offensively, but it's not much. They certainly were better at keeping the puck out of the net than the Wild were this season. And they have a huge advantage on special teams. Like, they will dominate a special teams battle. 27% on the power play this year. Second best power play in the NHL. And they also had a top 5 penalty kill at 84.1% on the PK, which was 5th best in the league. So like I said, for the Minnesota Wild, they really need to keep this series 5-on-5 and at even strength, because if this gets into a special teams battle, the St. Louis Blues have a huge advantage, with top 5 power play and penalty kill. Overall, looking at these two teams, looking at this statistically, it doesn't look right. Like, this is one of those times, certainly, where statistics do not tell the story. Because if you look at the Minnesota Wild, yes, they had the top 5 offense, 5th best in the league, but none of their other particular areas of their game stand out as that great. However, they won 53 games this year and finished ahead of the Blues in the standings. Whereas if you look at St. Louis, their top 5 goals for, top 5 power play, top 5 penalty kill, just outside the top 10 as far as goals against. Statistics favor the Blues overall, but they're the lower seed. They won less games. And this is certainly a case where statistics do not tell the whole story. I fully expect this to be an extremely close series, very, very hard fought, and these teams are very, very evenly matched. So I am really, really excited to get the puck dropped in this one and see which way it goes. So overall, the Blues and the Wild, I think this has a chance to be one of my favorite series of the first round. It's my favorite matchup of the Western Conference matchups, and I am super excited to get it started. Again, I think statistics don't really tell the story here. Minnesota's a much better team than their team stats kind of look like on paper. Their offense did carry them a lot this year, but they score a ton of goals, and they've won a lot of games by outscoring their opponents. And now you add Marc-Andre Fleury into the equation in net, and I do think Minnesota is going to be better as far as the goals against are concerned in the playoffs than they were in the regular season. So I think that's an area that's definitely going to improve for them. For St. Louis, I mean, they were top 5 in so much this year. Great, great hockey team. Great year for them. And they're just going to try and keep playing that way in the playoffs that they did in the regular season. Who would have thought the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild would be a series between two top 5 offenses in the NHL? That is so unlike your typical Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues. These are teams that for years were solid teams, but did it more in a defensive, lower scoring style. And this year they've gone all out offense, top 5 goal scoring teams in the league. And it's going to make for a super exciting series. I think there's going to be a lot of goals scored in this series, even with the goaltenders, even with Husso and Binnington for St. Louis, and even with Fleury and Talbot for Minnesota. I think there's going to be a lot of goals scored in this series. And we're going to see some very exciting high-scoring games between these two. Add in the rivalry aspect on top of it, and you've got yourself one heck of a playoff series. I cannot wait for it to start. And that is my series preview of the St. Louis Blues against the Minnesota Wild in the Central Division. Thank you guys so much for watching. And with that, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our merchandise store, membership, and donations are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.